Yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to the second Angular Belgrade Meetup. For today, we have two talks by my colleagues and friends from SAP, Miloš Rujević, who will talk about Angular e-commerce library called Spartacus, and Guilherme Santos, who will talk about Microfrontends and Nx. And before they start, I just want to mention that if you want, some of you want to speak at the Angular Belgrade Meetup, feel free to submit your talk. Your talk doesn't have to be at the expert level. Previous speaking experience is also not required, and you can speak in Serbian or in English. And that's all for me. Let's go back to the main topics for today. So first, Miloš will share his knowledge about SAP Spartacus. Let me just share his screen. Okay, here we go. You can start, Miloš.
Welcome to thank you. Welcome to this Spartacus presentation. I'm Miloš Rujević and I will be your presenter today. So let's go. Spartacus is an Angular-based modern storefront framework built as an open source project, primarily built for SAP Commerce Cloud backend. However, you can customize it. So let's talk about the tech stack. It is using Angular, RxJS, and NGRX, and all that, of course, with the TypeScript. On the more UI side, there is pre-processing for CSS, SAS, and Bootstrap UI as a UI framework, Jasmine for unit tests, and Cypress for end-to-end tests. Current version of Spartacus is 3.x. If you want to use it, just make sure you have following libraries. Now we will go and create our own Spartacus storefront. First, we have to create a new MyStore Angular application with a CSS style option, but without routing. After that, we will add Spartacus schematics, and we will include PWA standard server-side rendering. For backend, we will use this Spartacus training server. Base site will be electronics SPA, what is already also an example. And it is required to have this prefix for backend. You can see it there. After we type in this command, it's required from us to run yarn install. And after that, yarn start. For sake of saving the time, I already did that, and now we will see how our store looks like. And here it is. This is our store. Right out of the box, you can see there are many features, such as language support, currency support, wish list, the store finder, whole account management, cart, everything is there for you to use. So that was easy, but how easy it is to change things here. Let's go to wish list and see this product. Here we have a nice camera. And right now we are going to change this part here. How to do that? We are going to see the code. With Spartacus schematics is that we have a configuration here. Everything is set for you. There is only one single element in an app container, and it's here. And this is basically what we wrote down in that one-line statement, backend service, prefix, and so on. I already created the module where we have defined components like this. Through configure module that is imported from Spartacus core, we have to define some CMS components, and that will be product intro component and product summary component. And here I already created for us intro component. In the intro component, we have a product, and here we can also, what is also a good thing to know is that you can use all the Bootstrap classes. As you can see in this example, I'm using card. Here you can just display everything that product has available. How we did this? We did this with the current product service. We created this observable, and then we just like we subscribed here in the markup. So let's see what's changed now. Here, as you see, we changed this a bit. In the summary, we display the summary, but also what is the current stock of this product. And now you see that user can change reviews straight from this view. It's really easy to use this because, for example, if you don't want user to give a rating to this product, you can just say disabled true. I'm showing this just to give you a sense that everything in Spartacus is configurable. It's highly configurable and really easy to use. So for a demo, later on we will share a presentation and you can go and see this live Power Tools demo. Here is a link. This is everything you get from Spartacus, and more is to come. So all of these are features available to you right from the get-go. Some of the out-of-the-box features we already saw, like homepage, search, cart, categories, and so on. Let's talk about performance a bit. Lazy loading is provided to you, of course. With Angular, lazy loading concept is familiar with all of us. However, there are some more performance tactics there. There are product loading scopes, deferred loading, and above the fold loading. What is offered by product loading scopes to us? We have ability to set when we are going to refresh product lists for example, in this example. So product lists will be refreshed after every 60 seconds. Deferred loading gives us ability to load only components that are within users' viewpoint. This is really interesting concept. However, it does not work with the server-side rendering. Above the fold loading gives us ability to set order of components or sections that are going to and their execution. In this example, you can see that section A1 and section 2A will be loaded first, and then everything below section 2B. Also, some CSS is required for this feature to work. SEO is really easy to configure. You have routing where you can set all the routes. You can also use site content to set other things within a route. Everything you can use, make every page indexable. You can use structured data, HTML tags, and also social media tags. For SEO, you will need server-side rendering at some point, probably. But for this, I have a link, and there is a QR code you can scan now and see the full video about it. As we know, this concept requires time and probably would require a whole presentation for itself. PWA, so Progressive Web Application. Spartacus is aligned with the PWA, so it means it's reliable, fast, and engaging. You can see some of the features here, such as cross-browser support, social media meta tags that I just mentioned, use of responsive design, and so on. But also it is important to mention service workers. It's interesting to see that service workers are there. You can immediately see, for example, if you are online, you can notify user. If you're offline, you can notify user and say you're offline, but everything's fine. As soon as you get back online, we will fetch all of your data. There is the event system that is basically facade over all events. It boils down to this example. User added a product X to his cart. And why we have this? We have this in order to provide context-driven services support. What that means, we can follow a user from the beginning to the end, and we can know all of his actions. We can send that to backend, and with that information, we can build a good and reliable recommendation service. Let's talk a bit about UI now. We have a global style variable support, and we will see now how that looks live. So I have preset here some of the variables, and we'll go back to this page just to see how it looks now and how it will look after applying these two variables. As you can see, it was really easy and fun to change this small hero-like container. That is a use of a global style variables live. I think this is really important when you're customizing store for your client. There is on the accessibility side, you have localization, fully supported I18N standard, so you can add languages, add your translation, add fallback languages and currencies with ease. There is a directionality support as well, so you can set left to right and right to left. So pretty much you can use Spartacus with any language, any human language. Skip link is the famous, probably most famous accessibility feature, and here it is. It's really easy to set up, and you can use it. Currently, Spartacus is compliant with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.1, mostly on the level A, but we'll see what is in the future to happen. Now I would invite you to go on the GitHub and give a star to SAP Spartacus repo. Also, Spartacus is served through npm. So here is the link for npm. You can go and see what is happening with development on the roadmap. Here is the link for a roadmap. Mostly for this year, there are going to be like B2B features and some of SEO features. Learning. So if you want to learn more about Spartacus, I invite you to use free open source courses available and micro learnings as well. However, if you are already Spartacus developer, I think it would be great for you to get certificate. And here's the link for a paid and certified SAP course. I believe it's all about community. As we are doing here with the Angular Belgrade, I was able to find all information required for this presentation on a Spartacus Slack. Also, there is a Stack Overflow where you can post questions. And I like the community so far. You can follow announcements, and I invite you to join. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miloš. We don't have questions on chat, so we will continue with Guilherme's talk. Yeah, here we are. Are you ready, Guilherme?
Yes, I think I am.
Yeah, we can start then. Good luck.
Thank you, Marco, for inviting me, and welcome everyone here. Great presentation from Miloš. I'm gonna talk with you guys for a few minutes about NX and Microfrontends, some of the concepts, a few things about DDD, domain driving design, and module federation. So let's start here. What is and why NX? So NX is a suite of the powerful and extensible dev tools that help you code, test, and build your Angular applications. And with that, you can scale a little bit faster and in a better manner. And good thing about NX that is built on top of the most modern thing that we have today. So you can use Jest, Cypress, ESLint, NGRX, and a lot more. I like to think that the Angular CLI, the NX is not a replace for the Angular CLI. I like to think that the Angular CLI is Peter Parker and NX is the spider. So when you integrate both, you have the Spider-Man. So Angular CLI is fine, but with NX, it's better. So why NX? Because it helps you to drive good architecture, use modern tools, and because of the scalability and the speed that it's gonna bring for you. So I'm gonna talk the good architecture. The common CLI architecture of the Angular product is like this. You have the app folder and you start to create the components and the features inside that folder. So normally you have this one big monolith with a set of folders, and these folders function like a feature boundary. So, but you don't know what is public there, what is intended to be used across the application, and what is private. So the folder is not a good way to do it. So NX came and fixed that. So I'm gonna show you a demo project, and we're gonna split then this project into features, and then I'm gonna show how NX will deal with these components and these features. So this is an application. It's a Netflix. There is nothing related to the Netflix. So this is my idea. So here we're gonna talk about domain-driven design. I'm not gonna talk in deep. If you want to go deep in this, you can take a look on this talk in YouTube from Manfred Steyer. This guy is awesome, so you can check this. He explains everything that you want to know about domain-driven design. But what this do is we have a huge application and we want to split into smaller pieces of work, for example. So here we have the shell application. Oh, let's go. So here we have this block that we're gonna call the originals domain. We have the second block here that is continue watching domain. We have the dashboard, and we have the shell application that we orchestrate everything together. So we want to build them independently in the couple. So you can have one team working on the originals feature in the original domain and run it locally without the need to run the entire application altogether. So the team is working on the originals. They should be able to run the originals component by itself. So that's the idea here. So how the NX works? What is the structure that NX brings to this? So we're gonna have like this. We're gonna have the shell application that is an app. We have the dashboard. It's another app, a small app. We have the browse, the originals, and the continue. That is apps. You don't have business logic inside these apps. All your business logic or your services is on the libs here. So what we're gonna have, time in the coupled apps, you can run each of them independently, and they are really small. And everything that you need to code the business logic is on the libraries. If you think about libraries in Angular, you should think like, we're gonna publish that. No, this is another thing that you can use. You can use the libraries here in the Nx architecture as workspaces. So you're gonna split your code into workspaces, and each workspace will be a library. So this is the actual demo project that we created. So here you can see we have the apps. So we have the browse app, the continue apps, and these are deployables. And here we have the workspace libs that is shareable. And one thing that is interesting, each of the libraries has this index.ts file. So you can explicitly expose what you want. So if you have a service that is not, and you don't want to share this across the application, if you don't put it here, if someone try to import this code outside the domain, it's gonna throw a TS linked error, so it's not possible to do it. So this is interesting, and you can export everything that you want. You can, like here, I'm exporting a component, or I'm exporting the entire module. And okay, so create the boundaries with libraries is stronger than create with the folders, because when you think about libraries, you think about their API, so you know exactly what you are exposing outside the context. But how can we enforce that? How can we do that? So Nx has a interesting that is tags. You can tag each of the projects, each of each project or each library. So here we have the domain shell. And this domain shell, this project here is the type app. So if I if I tag this application as domain shell, if I try to import anything that's from another application to the shell, it's not gonna work, because the type app only depends in type feature, in type util, and type UI. So I cannot do something like that. In the dashboard application, I cannot import anything that is contained that it's on the browse application. So it's gonna generate it's gonna throw an error, a lint error, so you're not gonna be able. The same with the domain. So if the domain, I cannot import things from domain originals into the domain continue watching, for example. So with lint, with the ES lint, you can enforce that. So I'm gonna show you the code and how we can do this. So here we have the product with the folders. So to create a project, Nx project, what you can do, you can the terminal. So to create a project, Nx project, you're gonna type npx create Nx workspace preset Angular. I just did that, so we don't have to wait the node models, everything. So, but with this, you can create. One thing that is interesting about Nx that is you can create Angular workspace, you can create React workspace, you can have both together, so you're not tied up with one framework. You can have different teams working in the same project, in the same folder, in the same repo, with different frameworks. So that's interesting. So okay, we create the project, and one thing that is interesting to do is to install the Nx console extension. This is for VS Code. I think they have for the other code editors as well. this is for VS Code. And after that, you're gonna install it. You're gonna get this one here. This is the NX console extension. One thing that it's good to do to achieve the domain-driven design stuff and to make your life a little bit easier is to install another extension that is the NX add Angular architect /DDD. It will install in your project and you're gonna be able to create the domains and the features with some schematics. So, for example, you open the NX console and I want to generate a domain here. So I'm gonna create a domain. Just let me change one thing here because it was giving me an error before, just to make sure it's gonna work now. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new domain. So I have this other page is the rating page. So with this, I can create the domain. I can create an app related to that domain. For example, if it's a decoupled workspace, you can create an app that the developer can run it locally, only this standalone. And you can add the NGRX stuff. And you can say that if it's buildable, if it's publishable, or if it's only internal. So if you say that, oh, it's only internal, I'm not going to publish outside, so only the guys that is inside the repo is going to use, so it's just internal. So it will not run, it's a dry run that you can see what are the files that is generating. So here you can see that generate inside the libs folder a rating folder with a domain. In this domain folder, you put all your business logic. For example, you have the domain, but inside you have this rating page. But inside this rating page, you have the like and the dislike. These are features. So you create a feature inside this domain, inside this rating folder. So you're gonna have the rating, you're gonna have the rating domain folder, and you're gonna have the feature like, for example. So you can split your code. The feature is gonna be more about the UI and the components, and the domain is more about the business logic. So it's all split to make your life easier. So I'm not gonna create this now because I already create everything that I need here. So, okay, we create the domain, we create everything, but how are we gonna enforce these restrictions? So NX, when you create the NX project, it generates this nx.json file with all the projects and all the domains that you have inside of it. So, and it tags. For example, I created the domain shell, so shell is tagged as domain shell, and the type of the domain that I created, the type of the feature that I create. So you have the type app, we have the type domain logic, we have the type feature, the type util, and we have here the type UI. No, I didn't create anything for the UI, but we have this. So these are the tags, and how NX knows what they need to restrict or not. So inside the ESLint file, we have this rule enforce module boundaries. So here we can declare, so the type app tag only depends on the type API, on the type feature, on the type UI, domain logic. You can customize this as you need. So if your company or your project require something different, you can change anything. I would say that it's better to follow the DDD stuff, make your life easier. So you have the API, you have the features, you have the domain, you have the util. So that's for the good architecture. This is the architecture that NX will help you. About modern tooling, I'm not going to spend lots of time here, but NX is built on top of the Angular Dev Kit and the Angular CLI and use what we have of modern here. So it comes with ESLint. You can choose TSLint as well, but TSLint is deprecated, so I would not recommend that. NX comes with the default Jest and Cypress, but you can change as well to Karma and Protector. But Jest for unit tests is a bit faster, so I would recommend that. And the other thing that NX is interesting is the scalability and the speed to make things work. And let's say that we have this architecture, we have the project, then we have lots of things here in a common way, in an common Angular application. If you change something on here on the browse, you need to run the tests everywhere. So do I really need to deploy tests and lynch everything again? So for example, I change it here, I change the browse library, but the only thing that is related to the browse library is the browse application and the shell application. So why I need to run the tests for the originals for the continue. So what I really want to test and build again, just those two. So NX, with NX affected, NX knows what you are doing. It compares your branch with the master of the head of the master, so it knows what you are doing. So I'm gonna show that in a real life example. So you're gonna see that. So let me open here again. So let's say that I'm gonna create a new branch. Branch minor change. Okay, so I'm gonna go here on the originals library. I'm gonna come here and just change the class here to moves, change it to, let's say that. So we have on GitHub, as you can see here, we have this. So let me go back here. So we have a change on the library. So let's go to here, and I'm gonna run NX affected the graph. It's gonna run tab here where you can see the dependency graph of your application, and in red you can see where it was changed. So you have here the entire application, all the modules, all the features that you have, and in red only what was changed. So it make your build and development faster, and it's not gonna take a lot of time to build your project. So the CI will be a bit better for you and for your team. So here, just let me show another thing is you can do this for lynch as well. So affected lynch. It's gonna only lynch the originals project that was changed. And one interesting thing is that NX uses local cache. So for example, I ran the lynch here, so everything's fine. If I run it again without changing anything, it's gonna be like at the same time, because NX knows that I didn't change anything, so I don't need to run the test again. I don't want to lynch again. So, and they have something called NX Cloud, and this can be distributed around the team. For example, if I'm doing this now and run the test, and NX will send to the cloud the results of the test, the metadata about the test, and another guy in my team is working on the same thing and runs the same test. NX will see, oh, this guy didn't change anything, so let's show the same results because it's the same result. So even though he's not on in the same machine, he's gonna receive the same result instantly. So this is one thing that is really, really nice. And another thing that is interesting about this is that you can like run only what you need. You can rebuild only what you need. This is the scalability and the speed that NX brings into the game. So, okay, I talked for like 25 minutes. And where's the microfrontend? It's only a big mono repo with everything running all together. So I'm gonna talk shortly about Webpack 5 and module federation. So what I'm doing, I'm using module federation here, and to use module federation, for now, it's only experimental in Angular, so I would not recommend to use this for production, but it's something that is interesting because we'll be ready for production in Angular 12 that's coming like in the next 2 months, maybe. So to do that, we're gonna use yarn. We cannot use npm to make it work, so we have to use yarn. And we need to add on the package JSON file this here, the resolution, and then put the Webpack version that we want to use. Okay, so after that, you can come here and, okay, so this is not what I need now. To make it work, the module federation work in the NX, you need to add the NX add, you need to add this package and NGX build plus, because we're gonna need some Webpack configuration, custom Webpack configuration. And after that, we're gonna need to add another package that's called Angular Architects module federation. This is gonna add some schematics as well. So for example, after we create this, I need I want to make it, these apps, the shell apps, work with module federation and the origins and everything. So I create the domain using the NX console, and then I'm gonna come here and run this here. It's gonna ask me what the project name that I want to add as a module federation thing. So I'm gonna put shell, and then after that, it's gonna ask me the port that I want to use. Okay, I did that already. So after that, the package will generate these two Webpack configs. The most important is that one. So for the host, the shell application is the host of all the microfrontends. So you're gonna explicitly say here that, oh, the remotes, the microfrontends, they are here. So they are the dashboard, and the dashboard I'm gonna get from this URL. And the browse, the browse workspace, I'm gonna get from this URL. So here on the browse, you can do the same thing, run the same command again, and they will generate this. And here you're gonna say, okay, so on the module federation plugin, you're gonna say, oh, the name of this is browse, the file name is browse, and I will expose the module and the path of the module. And the port is the port that you define when you ran the command. So you put this on the shell. So for example, if I want to run only the browse page, the workspace, I can do it. So let me just go here. So here's the application running. I run the browse on the, for example, I want to run the originals here. That is already here. So here is the workspace running standalone. So I don't need to run it everywhere. But the dashboard, and here I have the continue workspace as well. So the dashboard is wrapping the components, because if you think like the Angular way to do the routing is you can lazy load modules, but using module federation, you can import the microfrontend as component. So you wrap everything inside one, like this continue watching is a component, and the original is a component. If I want to show both on the shell, with lazy load modules, I cannot do it. So what we can do, import those as components inside a module, and then load the module inside the shell. So it's interesting because you can expose components and modules using module federation like this. So for the originals, I'm exposing as a component here. In the dashboard, I'm exposing them as a module. And in the dashboard, you can say, oh, that's great, but how can we import the remotes here? Because as you can see, I'm not importing. I'm using the continue watching and the originals component here, but I'm not importing them here. So what we're gonna do is create a proxy component that is just a placeholder, and we're gonna use the home component here to bring. So the front ends, I have these front ends here, this variable that will wrap everything that I need to show in that page, and I have a service to get these front ends. And this front end, what is that? I didn't write the test for this. Okay, that's okay. So I'm gonna create an object with the entry, the name, the exposure module, the display name, and the component name. And in the proxy component, I'm gonna bring them here. So using the same package here, we're gonna import this function load remote module and pass it here. So when the proxy component starts on the first NEG on changes, the lifecycle hook, we're gonna load as a async file. So when we get this, we're gonna create the component factory and create this component as we go. So we can expose using module federation, the component and the modules, and you can use with lazy loading in the routing. And in the dashboard or in the shell, I'm importing, just let me show the routes here. So here I'm doing this. I'm importing the dashboard module, then as it was imported by directly from the library. But this, if you want to have this, the Microfrontends deployed separately, you can use using or the module federation. And one thing that is interesting for the Webpack is that it resolves the problem that we had with Microfrontends and duplicated libraries. So you can say that, okay, all these Microfrontends are sharing the Angular core, the Angular common, and the Angular router. And you can define here if it will be a singleton and if we need to have the same strict version. For example, if I put this false and using the Microfrontend a different version of Angular core, you're gonna have two different Angular core version. But if you use strict here and strict on the Microfrontend as well, the Webpack will enforce that you have the same version of the Angular core. So that's it. Hope you enjoy. Thank Marco. I'm gonna hand over to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for great talks. We really enjoyed. And thanks everyone for coming. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
There's also something I didn't mention about Spartacus within the scope of presentation, and that is also it's extensible and served as a core UI component and style libraries. So it kind of follows this system where you can only update one part. You don't have to update everything as a monolith application. It's nice to see how things are evolving within a front-end environment quite faster compared to what is happening on the back end. That's only my feeling. But really nice concepts to see here.
Yeah. Thanks again. And next meetup will be in April. It will be in Serbia, first time. And in the meantime, if you want to connect with us, you can do that on Twitter and LinkedIn. You can also take a look at our GitHub organization, where all the sources from previous and from this meetup will be available. Thanks again, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.